Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Thank you all for being here this evening. I certainly don't want to punish the people who are here on time. So we are going to go ahead and begin our service and hope that maybe a few more will join us. And even if they don't, we'll have a joyous time. Let's begin first with a little chant about being together. Let's sing Hine Ma Tov, okay? Hine ma tovu mana'im shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tovu mana'im shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov umana'im shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov umana'im shevet achim gam yachad. Page 142, you'll find the traditional Shalom Aleichem, which traditionally is at the beginning of the Friday night service or meal. I don't know why they put it so far in this book, but I'm going to jump ahead there and we'll do that before we light candles. Okay? 142, Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharet, Malachei Elyon, Bi Melech Malchei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem leshalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni leshalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem leshalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now we back up to 121, where you will find the blessings for lighting the Shabbat candles. And I would be happy to have a volunteer who would like to come up and do those for us this evening. Sheila, come on. You don't need the book, do you?
No.
Okay. But you need this because they're on.
There we go. Thank you. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvoto v'tzivonu lahadlik nir shel Shabbat Amen.
Very nice. Thank you so much. All right. So page 130, we begin Kabbalat Shabbat with this first psalm, not one that we normally do. It's called Lechu Niranana. There's a number of different tunes. This one is what I call the Israeli tune. If you know it, please follow along. If not, maybe you'll catch on by the end. It goes like this. Lechu niranena, lechu niranena, lechu niranena la'Adonai. Lechu niranena, lechu niranena, lechu niranena la'Adonai. Naria, naria, letzur yish'enu, Nikad mafana bitodam. Naria, naria, litzur yishenu. Bizmirot naria lo. Lechu niranena, lechu niranena, lechu niranena l'Adonai. Lechu niranena, lechu niranena, lechu niranena la'Adonai. Very nice. Okay, some of you were catching on. Let's, excuse me, let's turn to page 136 and read this Psalm of David together in the English, which is at the bottom half of the page and then continues the bottom of the next page, okay? 136. Ascribe to Adonai, O divine beings. Ascribe to Adonai glory and strength. Ascribe to Adonai the glory of God's name. Bow down to Adonai, majestic in holiness. The voice of Adonai is over the waters. The God of glory thunders. Adonai over the mighty waters. The voice of Adonai is power. The voice of Adonai is majesty. The voice of Adonai breaks cedars. Adonai shatters the cedars of Lebanon. God makes Lebanon skip like a calf, Sirion like a young wild ox. The voice of Adonai kindles flames of fire. The voice of Adonai convulses the wilderness. Adonai convulses the wilderness of Kadesh. The voice of Adonai causes hinds to calve and strips forests bare, while in God's temple all say glory. Adonai sat enthroned at the flood. Adonai sits enthroned, sovereign forever. May Adonai grant strength to God's people. May Adonai bestow on God's people well-being. On the next page, we find Lecha Dodi. Those of you who are regulars have probably figured out that my madness in going over this prayer is to make sure that we learn the entire prayer, so I don't do the same 4 verses every week. I try and alternate them. Sometimes I do odd, sometimes I do even, sometimes I do the first 4, sometimes I do the last 4. We always do the last one. We always do a number of the other ones, okay? So this evening, let's do all the ones on 138, 1 through 4, and then we'll rise for welcoming the Sabbath Queen into our midst at the last verse on the next page, bottom of 139 and verse 9, okay? All right, here we go. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, P'nei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, P'nei Shabbat nikabela. Shahamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Hishmiyanu el hamiyuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, L'shem u'letiferet v'litila. Lecha Dodi Dodi, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, P'nei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabelam. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, Ki hi mekor ha-biracha, Mehirosh mikedem nisucha, Sof ma'aseh b'machashavat chila. Lecha, lecha, dodi, dodi, lecha, dodi, likrat kala. Penei Shabbat nikabela, lecha, dodi, likrat kala. Penei Shabbat nikabela. Bihikdash melech ir melucha, Kumitzei mitocha hafecha, Rav lach shevet b'yemek habacha, Vehu yachamol ala yichem la. Lecha dodi likrat kalam, Penei Shabbat nikabela, Lecha dodi likrat kalam, Penei Shabbat nikabela. Ki hitna ari me'afar kumi, Livshi bigdei tifartech amim, Al yad ben Yishai beit halachmi, Korva el nafshi giala. Lecha, lecha, dodi, dodi, lecha, dodi, likrat kalam. Penei Shabbat nikabela, lecha, dodi, likrat kalam. Penei Shabbat nikabela. We rise if we're able. Bo'i b'shalom ateret bala, Gam b'simcha u'v'tzohala, Toch emunei am segula, Bo'i chala, bo'i chala. Lecha, lecha, dodi, dodi, lecha, dodi, likrat kalam. Penei Shabbat nikabela, lecha dodi likrat kalam. Penei Shabbat nikabela. Please be seated. Very nice. Page 140, we find the psalm for Shabbat. And I like to do this in English at the bottom of the page, and then we'll go back and do Tzadik Katamar, okay? 140, a psalm, a song for Shabbat together. It is good to praise Adonai, to sing hymns to your name, O Most High, to proclaim your steadfast love at daybreak, your faithfulness each night, with a 10-string harp, with voice and lyre together. You have gladdened me by your deeds, Adonai. I shout for joy at your handiwork. How great are your works, Adonai. How very subtle your designs. A brute cannot know, a fool cannot understand this. The righteous bloom like a date palm. They thrive like a cedar in Lebanon, planted in the house of Adonai. They flourish in the courts of our God. In old age they still produce fruit. They are full of sap and freshness, attesting that Adonai is upright, my rock in whom there is no wrong. At the indented piece of the Hebrew, we sing together. Tzadik katamar yifrach, yifrach, tzadik katamar yifrach, tzadik katamar yifrach, yifrach, tzadik katamar yifrach, ki erez balavanon yizger, ki erez balavanon yizger, ki erez balavanon yizger, yizger. Ki erez balavanon yizger, ki erez balavanon yizger, ki erez balavanon yizger, yizger. Very nice. All right. So that, having done the Psalm for Shabbat, takes us to the end of Kabbalat Shabbat, marked by the Chatzi Kaddish on page 144. It is our tradition to rise for the Kaddish, and then we'll continue with the Baruch Hu, and remain standing through that, and all the way through the Shema. We can be seated after the Shema and continue together with V'ahavta when we get there, and I'll keep announcing the pages. First, 144, Chatzi Kaddish. Yitkahadal v'yitkahadash shemei rabba amen b'alma divra chiruhute v'yamlich malchute b'chayechon u'yomechon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael bagala bagala Uvisman kariv heimeru, Amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevarach, li'olam li'ol mehamaya, yitbarach, yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpar v'yitroma v'yitnaseh, V'yitadar v'yitale v'yithalal Shemede kudsha berichu Li'ela min kol birchata v'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata Damiran mi'alamam V'meru, Amen. Page 146. Baruchu et Adonai hambivorach. Baruch Adonai hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch Adonai hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Next page, we continue in English. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night, and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzvaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv haravim. Amen. Page 150, a traditional tune. Ahavat olam beit Yisrael hamchavtam Torah u'mitzvot chukim u'mishpatim otanu limadeta Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shochbenu v'kumenu nasiach b'chukecha v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha u'v'mitzvotecha le'olam va'em Ki hem chayenu v'yorech yameinu v'yorech yameinu Uvahem nehege yomam v'layla yomam v'layla V'avatecha tasir mimenu le'olamim Baruch atah Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael. Amen. 152. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu kevod malchuto leolam avoid. You may be seated. We continue together, 154. Ve'avta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha uvechol nafshecha uvechol meodecha vehayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom alevavecha Vishinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha u'v'lechtecha v'derech u'v'shochbecha u'v'kumecha u'kshartam li'ot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot beinenecha u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha lema'an tizkeruhu vasitem et kol mitzvotai v'hiyitem kedoshim leloechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem lelohim Ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem, Amen. Might we get a volunteer to read the English for us on the top of 157? Someone who hasn't done a part yet, maybe? Naomi, Ann, anybody want to come up? Anyway, great, come on up. Top of the page, 157. Yeah, so the people on Zoom can hear you.
Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before we ever stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together.
Thank you. So we continue. Page 158 with Mi Chamocha. Mi Chamocha Bo'elim Adonai, Mi Chamocha Nedar B'Kodesh, Norah Tehilot, O Sefer Malchutecha ra'u v'necha bokei yam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam Ze'eli anu v'yamru Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed v'nemar kifada Adonai ed Yaakov u'ga'alo miyad chazak mimenu Baruch atah Adonai Gal Yisrael. Amen. 160, let's read this beautiful song together in the English in the middle of the page. Grant, O God, that we lie down in peace and raise us up, our guardian, to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel. For your name's sake, be our help. Shield and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Defend us against enemies, illness, war, famine, and sorrow. Distance us from wrongdoing. For you, God, watch over us and deliver us. For you, God, are gracious and merciful. Guard our going and coming, to life and to peace evermore. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Baruch atah Adonai, haporesu kat shalom aleinu, V'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim. Amen. We turn now to page 164 as we prepare for the Amidah, for the most important prayer of our service, our chance to have a private audience with God. As we do each time we say this prayer, we begin with the mantra, as it were, on 164, chanting it both in Hebrew and in English. We'll then continue together 166 and 168, and then you will continue silently 170 through 180 with the Hebrew, the English, or your own personal prayers. And please be seated whenever you are finished as a sign that you're ready to move on together. So first we rise, page 164. Adonai sifatai tiftachu fi agiti latecha. Adonai, opened up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, v'Konei HaKol, v'Zocher Chazdei Avod v'Imachot, Umevi geula livnei v'neihem leman shemo b'yava. Melech ozer umoshia umagen. Baruch atah Adonai, magen Avraham v'ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, mechaye hakol atarav lehoshia. Morid hatal, mechalkel chayim bechesed, mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, somech noflim berofech olim, umatir asurim, umkayem emunato, Lishenei afar, michamocha ba'al gevurot, umido melech, melech mimit umechayeh, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman ata l'chayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye hakol atakadosh u'jimcha kadosh u'kdushim b'chol yom yalu chasela Baruch atah Adonai ha'el ha'akol. Ose shalom imroma, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, imru, amen. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, Shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, Shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, Amen. In the holiness of the moment of our Amidah prayer, we pause to say a prayer for those who are suffering physically or spiritually with a prayer called Nishi Beirach. On my list this week, we have Rona Paquette, Robert Tyndall, Miriam Schneier, Avraham Leib, Bonnie Levine, Martin Jean, Kevin Killip, Emmett McDonald, Sharon Schneier, Rebecca Chappas, Colleen Helpert, Linda Stewart, Cheryl Nicole Wright, Karen Devora, Bat Masodi Van Norman, Lori Curtis, Asher Israel, Terry McCastiker, Elisa Wright Tammy, Gail Kaplan, Yosef Shimon, Solomon Smear, Elizabeth Enright, Sue Ann Frankel, Harry Indig, Alana Trombley, Mark Delaney, Kate Barber, AJ Camarada, Michael Crook, David Lazarus, Israel Ben Avraham, Sue Ann Frankel, Noah Wolf, Michael Crook, Sharon Huckberg, Yocheved Bat Sarah. Are there any other names of people who you would like to pray for that weren't on my list?
My sister, Lila Louise Pullman.
Thank you.
And my friend Susan Cassidy.
Very good. Thank you. Others? Stephanie and Kyle Grace. Thank you. O God, in our hearts, we name those who are facing illness and pain. We join our prayers with the prayers of all who love them. Give them renewed comfort and courage. Strengthen in them the healing powers you have placed within us all. Guide the hands and hearts of those entrusted with their care. May the knowledge of your love and ours give added hope to them and to their dear ones. And may they find greater strength because our prayers are linked with theirs. Baruch atah Adonai Rofei HaCholim. We bless you, O God, the source of healing and health. Page 371, middle in the page. Join me in the Mishi Beirach prayer. Mi shebeirach avoteinu mikor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi shebeirach imotenu mekor habracha le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shleima, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Thank you. That was lovely. Again, Shabbat Shalom to everyone here and everyone in Zoomer land. It's good to have you with us this Shabbat. This may be a surprise to you, but the Torah is not in chronological order. Okay? There are lots of stories that are stuck in places where we might not expect them to be. There are some beautiful narratives that all of a sudden get interrupted with a little shorter story. It's just not linear. It's not in chronological order. And this is the first time in all the times that I've been a rabbi that I looked at the fact that this week's Parsha, which is called Korach, follows immediately Shlach Lecha. So just to remind you, last week, Shlach Lecha, the Torah portion is about the sending of the 12 spies, one from each of the 12 tribes, to look at the land that we're going to inherit. And apparently it was God's plan for them to go out, check out the land, come back and say how beautiful it was, and we would go up and take it, and that was going to be that. We know that didn't happen. In fact, the 12 spies go out, and when they come back, they give a report to everybody saying, yeah, the land is beautiful and it's good, but the towns are fortified, they're very strong and well-built, and the people there are giants, and it made us look like grasshoppers in our own eyes as well as in their eyes, except for two. And those two were Joshua and Caleb. And they said, no, what are you talking about? We can do this. But they had already spilled their poison, as it were. So, in a sense, that was a rebellion too. What was that rebellion? I think it was one of process. The mistake, I don't know who made it, whether it was Moses or the spies themselves, but the mistake was that they gave that report in front of the entire people of Israel. So everybody heard the good things about the land. They also all heard the message of how inadequate 10 of those 12 spies felt about themselves. Now, maybe that was because they had been slaves for so long, maybe because they had self-image problems for other reasons, but that was what actually happened. And that's when God gets mad and is about to get rid of them all and start all over with Moses and Aaron. But what would Moses and Aaron do? They fall on their face and they pray to God and say, look, don't do this. You want everybody to say you took them out of Egypt just to kill them in the wilderness? You know, you're the God of mercy. Be merciful here and give them a break. And so God does. He doesn't wipe them out. But what does he do? Everybody who was 20 years old at that point and older, he says, you are condemned to wander for the rest of the years. You're not going to get to inherit the land, the promised land of Israel. Only the children who are under the age of 20 and whoever is born on the way, those are the ones who will get to inherit it. So that was one kind of rebellion. And then this week, following that, not necessarily chronologically, but following that, we read the story of Korach. Who was Korach? Korach was actually one of Moses' cousins because they were all Levites, right? Moses and Aaron were both from the Levite tribe, but Aaron got chosen to be the high priest, and Moses, of course, got chosen to be the leader of everybody by God in both cases. So along comes Korach, this cousin, who decides, he doesn't like the way things are being run. So he's going to make a ruckus. And what is the ruckus he makes? He uses a very sly argument. He says, who are you to put yourself above all of us? All of us are holy. Everybody here is holy, which is true, right? So he starts with that true line, but he's really attacking Moses' authority. What does Moses do? Again, he falls on his face as a way of showing humility in this case. And he then tells Korach that, listen, I know that what you're doing here, he doesn't say it in these words, but we'll see. God will show us who's supposed to lead the people. You bring in all your followers. By the way, he had gotten Medad and Eldad from the tribe of Reuven. Why is that significant? Reuven was the oldest son, right? So the oldest son often feels like they're primogenitor. They're supposed to be the ones who are the leaders. So he got them to join the rebellion, and Moses says to them, bring your fire pans and your incense, and we'll see who God is going to choose as the leader. And what a surprise. Moses gets chosen again, and those guys get swallowed up by the earth, okay? Now, to Moses' credit, he did call for Eldad and Medad to come and discuss with him because he was going to try and talk them out of being in that. But they were stubborn and they refused. And so he tells everybody, get away from their tent. Otherwise, you might be swallowed up, right? And he says, if you guys are right, then you'll die a natural death. But if something should happen like the earth is going to open up and swallow you, then you'll find out that maybe your cause wasn't so righteous. And as soon as he finishes speaking, that's exactly what happened to him, but just to those who were rebelling. So we have these two rebellions. What's interesting, and a lot of people don't think about this, but the name Korach, my Hebrew students know I love Hebrew and the roots that we have, is Kerach. What is Kerach? Kerach is ice. This guy was cold-blooded. He was not a warm human being. He was interested in power for himself. That's why he challenged Moses, and that's why he lost the fire pan battle. And so we learn from both of these rebellions that, first of all, it's important for a leader to be warm and to be courageous, right? Not to let their own insecurities or their feelings about themselves, which might be negative or small or inadequate, get in the way of their leadership, and they have to be warm and considerate of others, like Moses was when he reached out to Eldad and Medad and said, hey, why don't you come talk to me? That's what we need from leaders, and we are a congregation that needs leaders. No congregation, no organization can really thrive without leaders. So we're open. We're looking for people who are warm and people who are willing to step forward despite whatever doubts they may have about themselves or their abilities. We want you. Come and get involved. You don't have to jump in and be on the board or president right away, but jump in and become involved. Help us build the kind of community where that warmth will glow and show out to everybody. Shabbat Shalom. We're ready now to continue with our service. If you'll turn to page 376, and I'm going to volunteer you to do an English reading if you're willing. Okay. The top prayer for our congregation on 376. Come on up for the mic so that the people in Zoom can hear you, please.
Source of all being, may the children of this community learn these passions from us: love of Torah, devotion in prayer, and support of the needy. May we guide with integrity, and may our leadership be in your service. May those who teach and nourish us be blessed with satisfaction, and may we appreciate their time and their devotion. Bless us with the fruits of wisdom and understanding, and may our efforts bring fulfillment and joy.
Lovely, thank you. And as we all know from the news, that promised land of Israel has its challenges these days as well. So I invite David to come up and read for us the prayer for Israel in the Hebrew.
Avinu Shabashamayim, Tzur Yisrael v'Goalo, Barechet Medinat Yisrael, Reishit Smichat Golatenu, Chagen Alecha Be'evrat Chazdecha, Ufros Alecha Sukkot Shlomecha, Ushlach Orcha V'yamitcha L'Ra'ashea, Sareya V'yatsea, V'taknem Be'etza Tova Milfanecha, V'natata Shalom Be'aretz, V'simchat Olam Leoshveya, V'nomar Amen.
Amen. Thank you both. So that prepares us for the concluding prayers of our service, which begin all the way toward the back on page 586, beginning with the Aleinu. Please rise. We will chant the second paragraph together on 586, and then turn the page for the top of 588, the top paragraph, and then we will move to the closing page on 591, okay? 586. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, latet gdula leotze bereshit, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסר ארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובהי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אינו, אמת מלכנו וזולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום, והשבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא אלוהים, בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת. Ein od, 591 in the middle. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו echad. You may be seated. In every one of our religious services, we take a moment to remember those generations that have come before us. In the coming week, we observe the yahrzeits, the annual passings of the following people: Brian Barrett, Tilly Eskin, Newton Jackson, Rhea Barrett, Edith Silverstein, Minnie Talberg, Esther Tenzer, Harry Rosen, Molly Bennett, Millie Cohen, Joseph Remsing, and Belle Wallman. Are there other names? First of all, is anybody observing a Shiva for anyone, or a Shloshim, a 30-day or 7-day period of mourning that they know about? Okay, are there any other yahrzeits that were not on my list that people would like those names called? Any from online, Farnham? Okay. Page 598, we all rise together as we say these words in honor of those who have passed. Yitkada v'yitkada shemei Rabba, Amen. Be'alma divra chiruteh v'yamlich malchuteh b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala v'yizman kari v'imru, Amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mavorach le'alam ul'omei omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shmei dekudsha brichu le'ela minko berchata v'shirata tush berchata v'nechemata damriran bi'alma v'imru, Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav hu ya'aseh shalom Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru, Amen. Please be seated. So before we get to our concluding hymn and the Kiddush, we have the following announcements. Tomorrow morning, our Torah study continues with more on the study of Korach, which will be led by Stu Selby. That's in the chapel here. We want to remind everyone that the annual general meeting, which is an important meeting for everyone to be at, is going to be here at Bethel on Monday, the 29th of June at 7 p.m. The Monday evening class that has been ongoing will not meet that night because of the AGM, because of the meeting. Watch your emails for further details about our upcoming congregational barbecue and potluck dinner on Sunday, July 5th. You'll be able to register and pay in the month of July. We'll send out the announcement in the e-blast with the dates and how to do the registration. It is free for members. Guests are welcome. It's $18 per guest, and we'd love to have lots more people who don't know us or haven't been here to come and join us for that festive event. As a small congregation, we are always looking for volunteers who will help with the preparation of food and the setup, as well as serving and the cleanup on the day of that barbecue. There will be a separate link for signing up as a volunteer in the e-blasts that are coming. The office will be closed for staff vacations from Wednesday, July 8th through and including Wednesday, July 15th, so that entire 8-day week. There'll be someone back in the office Thursday, July 16th at 9 o'clock in the morning. There will, however, be a Friday evening service that July 10th as usual. If you know someone who would like to volunteer to lead the Friday night service while I'm away, I would love to hear about that person. Okay, any other announcements that were not on my list?
Were you here you weren't here for the Carousel of Nations?
I was not.
No. It's a wonderful celebration.
Okay.
And there are times, and it goes for these 2 weeks leading up to Father's Day, usually.
Oh, so the Carousel of Nations has been going on, and it concludes
On this weekend,
on the weekends, and it concludes this coming weekend, because this coming Sunday
Saturday and Sunday.
is Father's Day, and that's the conclusion.
Yes.
Okay, and where does that take place?
We're at various places, for instance, the Greek Orthodox has theirs right there at their temple on Walker Road. But there used to be, they used to send out, that we used to get in the paper. It's not advertised anymore.
I've got it on my fridge, I took it out of the paper.
Oh, you took it out.
Last weekend and this weekend. They're in Amherstburg, they're in LaSalle, it's all over Windsor.
So were we announced? Is that what you're saying?
No, we're not part of it.
We're not multicultural. Yeah, we don't.
Perhaps we should look into that.
Yeah, it's something to look into.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing it. Other announcements? All right. Then we will choose a concluding hymn, usually Adon Olam, unless somebody wants to chime in with a different favorite. Adon Olam is on 625, unless somebody wants something different. We're open, we're flexible, or you can help choose the tune. Anybody have a favorite tune for this one? The old one. Okay. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yetzir Nivra Li'ed Nasam B'chefzo Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra V'Acharei Kichlot HaKol Levado Yimloch Noram Vehu Hayam Vehu Hovem Vehu Yiem Betifara Vehu Echad V'ein Sheni Lehamshir Lo Lehachbiram Beli Reshit, Beli Tachlit, Velo Haoz, Veham Misra, Vehu Helim, Vechai Goalim, V'tzur Chevli B'yetzaram, Vehu Nisi Umanosli, Menat Kosi, B'yom ekra b'yadom avkid ruchi בעת אישם ועירם, ועם רוחי גבייתי, Adonai li velo ira. We turn all the way back to 122 for the full Kiddush that I like to do on Friday nights. We rise for this. Vayer vayiroker yom hashishi vayechulu hashamayim v'haaretz v'chol tzevam vayechal Elohim bayom hashvi'i melachto asher asa vayishpot bayom hashvi'i mikol melachto asher asa Vayivarech Elohim en Yom HaShvi'i, Vayikadesh oto, Ki vo shavat mikol melachto, Ki vo shavat mikol melachto, Asher bara Elohim, Asher bara Elohim lasot. Savrei Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen Amen. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu V'shabbat kodsho b'yavav ratzon inchilanu zikaron lema'aseh bereshit ki hu yom techila lemikra'ei kodesh zecher litziat mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta V'yotanu kidashta im kol hamim V'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava u'beratzon inchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat Amen. Anyone want to say Hamotzi? Come on up. I'll give you the mic. It's raised in Challah. Come on. You know you want to.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri motzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. I didn't want to take the wine away from you.
Shabbat Shalom.